felt like he didn't belong in the world. Inside him was a constant, unquenchable fire that burned away his sense of reason, leaving him angry and distant. His fists were often clenched, ready to lash out at anyone who crossed him, blocking all attempts to find happiness or connection. Ming hated restrictions, and even more, he hated being judged. The school organized a mandatory hiking trip, which only fueled his irritation. He didn't want to be stuck on a narrow trail with people he couldn't stand, nor did he want to listen to their endless chatter that buzzed in his ears. His feet dragged reluctantly through the damp earth, his mind swirling with resentment. Finally, unable to endure the noise any longer, he veered off the path, heading deeper into the forest in search of solitude and a fleeting sense of happiness. He continued walking, the trees growing taller and the light dimming around him. Suddenly, the ground beneath him gave way. Before he could react, he was plunging into darkness, his body free-falling into the abyss. The wind roared past his ears, his heart pounded in his chest like a drum. His hands clawed at the air, desperately trying to grasp something, anything, to break his fall, but there was nothing. In that moment, fear overwhelmed the anger that had fueled him for so long. When he hit the ground, the impact sent a shockwave of pain through his body. He pushed himself up and realized he had stumbled into a deep pit. The cold, damp air seeped into his bones, and the musty scent of decay clung to the walls. He was lost, and the sensation of being trapped was overwhelming. Days passed, each one blending into the next in the suffocating darkness. At first, Ming tried calling out for help, his voice echoing off the stone walls, only to be swallowed by the oppressive silence. The vast, unfeeling darkness seemed to stretch on forever, amplifying his sense of isolation and despair, making the idea of happiness seem like a distant dream. The hopelessness of his situation began to set in, and with it, a deep, gnawing loneliness. The darkness became a mirror, reflecting back at him all his anger, fear, and despair. He could no longer escape the turmoil within him. Desperation drove him to explore the depths of his surroundings, and in one corner, he discovered a single fruit tree. Each time he climbed up to the tree, the sweet taste of the fruit was a rare moment of happiness and the only comfort he had. To his surprise, happiness could be this simple. But each time he returned to the darkness, the silence became unbearable. He curled up on the cold ground, his mind a chaotic storm of anger and fear. Memories of his life before the fall flooded back. Every argument, every fight, every moment of defiance played out in his mind, tormenting him. One night, a memory surfaced, something small, almost insignificant. He remembered picking up a book a classmate had dropped, and the smile they gave him in return. That simple act of kindness was like a ray of sunshine piercing through the thick blackness surrounding him. In that moment, Ming understood something profound. The anger he had clung to for so long began to dissolve, replaced by a warmth and simple happiness he hadn't felt in forever. His breathing slowed, his body relaxed, and for the first time, the darkness didn't feel as oppressive. He reflected on the moments of beauty and kindness he had overlooked in his life. As he stood in the warmth of the sun, he felt it seep into his skin, melting away the last remnants of the cold that had gripped his soul. When the rescue team finally found him, Ming had been lost for days. He closed his eyes, inhaling deeply, and felt a sense of peace wash over him, a calm and happiness that had eluded him for so long. His time in the darkness had taught him that the true enemy was never the world around him, but the anger and resentment festering in his own heart.